Hey friends, it's me, Erin, your friendly neighborhood energy alchemist with today's Schumann Resonance Report for Wednesday, May the 14th. Look at that. Look at that, you guys. We have had another timeline jump. And thankfully for me this morning when I woke up, that pressure feeling like the pressure is building has finally released. At least a lot of it has released for me. I think I was feeling the buildup to this timeline jump, you guys. Okay, so let's talk about timeline jump. First thing I want to do is show you the last 24 hours. This is the last 24 hours on our graph. I've had a lot of people reach out to me and ask about the time down here. This is military time. It is also local time to Tomsk, Russia, which is 12 hours ahead of me here in Central. That's why I take away 12 hours. So that's explaining this time there. This is the last 24 hours. You can see we have continued to get this interesting pattern coming in here. Again, this pattern that I have not really seen a whole lot, right? It's faded out now after the timeline jump. Timeline jump came in at 1 o'clock in the morning Central Time. 1300 hours is 1 o'clock in the morning Central Time. After that, we started to receive a release in the a release push of energy, right? That started around 6 a.m. Central Time, and all of that pattern started to sort of die out after that timeline jump. This feels like it was a countdown. When we look back here, you can clearly see these lines on the graph, and it is very much like a countdown. Very interesting notes made. So now let's talk about timeline jumps. There's a couple of things to remember. Number one, you are on your own individual timeline, and you sort of switch in and out of timelines hundreds of times a day, depending on where your focus is. These small incremental shifts often don't have huge immediate impacts on your environment. You don't necessarily notice them because it's like film, it's like slices of film on a reel of film. Words are hard. And you go in and out of these frames all day long. So it's not necessarily impactful in the immediate presence. It's the cumulative effect that's more impactful on your individual timeline. But we are also all part of collective timelines because we are collectively focused in one direction, like humanity. But even further, that collective timeline is also broken down into an awakened and an unawakened timeline. There's a lot going on. It's a lot of moving parts. This is a timeline jump on the awakened collective. Does that mean that the unawakened collective will not notice it? No, they often notice stuff, but don't understand where it's coming from or not necessarily cognizant about what's happening. It's more of the thing where they write it up to, oh, that's weird. But as I've told you all many, many times before, about a year ago, I received very clearly in my meditations that the timeline jumps that I am reporting on now are more effective on the awakened collective, meaning those of us on the journey of self-discovery will notice this type of timeline jump more readily in our environment, okay? So what kind of effects can it have in your environment? Well, it really depends on you and what you surround yourself with. If you surround yourself with a lot of people who are awakened, or you're like me and you spend a lot of time alone, then this is not something that's going to have giant impacts in your immediate environment because you've already structured yourself there, right? But if you spend a lot of time with people who are on the unawakened collective, this tends to be more evident in your immediate surroundings. And it tends to look like people not remembering conversations that you had that you're sure you had with them. Seeing someone that you haven't seen in a long time, finding objects that felt lost, all kinds of stuff like that. It's about small observations, friends. I got a very, very clear message in meditation this morning for you guys, and I'm going to just lay it out there for you. In meditation, what I heard was be mindful, because fear is a control tactic of the weak-minded over others. There are a lot of stories in the media that are going around that are presented in a way that build a sense of fear where it is unnecessary. I have been tagged over and over and over again in the story of the underwater volcano that's about to erupt off the coast of Oregon. And yes, that definitely has impact to it, and it definitely sounds really scary. However, I want to just remind you guys, this exact volcano has erupted multiple times in the last 100 years, the most recent being in 2015. Do you remember hearing about it erupt in 2015? Because I don't. And why was that? Literally within 3 minutes of being on the internet, this is what I found. If it erupts, the underwater volcano, it will be a mostly unnoticed event by people on land. It's too deep and far from shore for any potential impact to be felt by coastal communities. And I'm not saying we should ignore that it's going to happen. That's not at all what I'm saying. But what I am saying is be mindful. Fear is a control tactic used by the weak-minded to try to keep you doing what they want you to, which is follow what they say without questioning. We are walking into a time when it is most important for us to check in with ourselves. If something doesn't feel right, look into it. Don't just take someone on their word. There's a lot of information out there that is not being shared with you about a lot of different subjects. Just be mindful. That's all I'm saying. Fear is a real tactic used by the weak-minded. All right, here's our cards for today, friends. We are walking into a cycle of change. The Wheel of Fortune is spun around and is facing in our collective direction. And it's asking you, what are you going to do with this? There are new roles, outward facing roles. Sacral chakra is about the roles that you play, i.e. the name tags that you wear. This is changing. How others perceive you is changing. And because of that, because we as a collective are stepping into our control and our power, those in power are trying to use excessive control measures to keep us in a state of overburdenedness and fear, leaving us sitting in apathy, meaning we're not going to do anything about it. My guides are saying be very, very careful and make sure you are evaluating how you feel on these things and doing your own research and rebelling against what others are telling you. You do not have to take people at their word. Figure it out for yourself. There is no better control tactic than making you feel helpless, like you can't do anything, like you have fear and you have to turn to others. And it keeps you in a state of apathy, friends. I'm telling you. It's a little foggy here this morning, but we're still going to come out in this beautiful day and ground ourselves and get ready for what comes next. Are you ready? All right, take a nice big deep breath in. Release. Drop your shoulders and just remind yourself, today's a great day and I'm in control of my future. No one else is. What are you going to do with it, friend? How are you going to use this day for you? And don't forget, it's a great day. It's a great day.